Nigeria took the world by surprise in the last 3 years, as she came from nowhere to become the largest producer of rice in Africa and 14th largest producer in the world. Now what this means is that the country has been able to save huge foreign reserves running into billions from needless importation of rice. By 2015, the figure rose to an average of $800 million annually. Today, local production has surged dramatically, with individuals, groups and even state governments taking advantage of government's import ban to create wealth and jobs for Nigerians. While this success story is cheering, there's still a long way to go if the country truly wishes to take its rightful place within the global rice industry. And with that, I welcome you to another episode of the program Transforming Agriculture in Nigeria. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Let us begin this edition with some stories contained in the diary of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Thanks for joining us. In the news, Nanono says agricultural development not possible without research, amongst other stories.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has welcomed its new Permanent Secretary, Ernest Afolabi Umahihe. This followed the retirement of erstwhile Permanent Secretary Dr. Abdulkader Muazu, who bowed out of service last month. In his acceptance speech contained in a press release by the Director of Information, Theodore Ogazechi, during the handover ceremony at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja, Umahihe promised an open-door policy to all in a bid to ensure the sustainable growth of the sector. Ernest Umahihe was born on the 5th of April 1964. He is a professional accountant and proven administrator of high repute. Before his appointment, he had served in several capacities in several ministries and parastatals, including the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, as well as Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mohammed Sabo Nanono has called on research institutions under the ministry to live up to their responsibilities, as there can be no agricultural development in the country without effective research. Nanono was speaking during the commissioning of the Center for Dryland Agriculture Training and Research Farm and the formal launch of the Africa Center of Excellence for Development Impact Project in Dryland Agriculture at Bayero University, Kano. The minister said all hands must be on deck even as government continues to invest in research to boost agricultural development in the country.
We have so many research institutes in the country, so many federal colleges, so many federal university colleges. But why are the impact? So we have to direct resources towards the development of such institute. One of the reasons why I came here is to emphasize that fact, that we need to do more in the area of research in order to boost agricultural production in this country. And
Nanono noted that Nigeria occupies a privileged position in the world. He added that the country must seize that opportunity to develop the sector using research as a crucial component.
We are already in excess of 200 million people in this country. That Nigeria also create a buffer zone for the West African sub-region. So if you are going to estimate what we eat, probably eat one side on that to feed other neighbors. So it is an enormous tax, and it is important for all the research institutions in this country as a matter of right to demand resources, but also to work seriously towards the development of new innovations to boost agricultural production in this country.
The Center for Dryland Agriculture Training and Research Farm was initiated through a $5 million grant of the World Bank-supported Africa Center of Excellence for Development Impact, ACE Impact Project. It is the first of its kind in Africa and hosted within the CDA at Bayero University, Kano.
Local rice production in Nigeria almost hit 5 million metric tons in 2019 to put Nigeria ahead in Africa. With attention given to the entire value chain to make the country self-sufficient in rice, there is also the need to boost capacity, help farmers mitigate challenges, and ensure that local rice is not just available and of good quality, but that is also affordable to the ordinary Nigerian. For the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, that is a mission. One that it's pursuing vigorously in its overall bid to ensure the country attains food security. We'll get the full story in our next segment, Records of the FDA. Do stay tuned.
Rice is the most consumed food in Nigeria and, indeed, the world, according to multiple sources. The white grains filled with energy, carbohydrate, iron, and vitamin C grow as green grassy plants, mostly in swampy areas, are through irrigation. In Nigeria, there are slightly over 2 and 3 million hectares of land used for actual cultivation of rice across the country. Before 2016, the country was producing only about 3 million tons annually, with more than 2 million tons imported to make up the local demand of 5 million metric tons. You must have heard about Kebbi, Ebonyi, Benue, and even Ekiti states when rice is talked about in the country. The truth is, with the initiative of the federal government, farmers in more than 29 states across the country are engaged in the cultivation of rice in various capacities.
Everyone knows the country has what it takes to produce the rice that it needs to feed its people. We have the land, we have the water resources, and we have the population to do that. So if you recall, our import bill on rice was just not fair for us as a nation. Many countries like Thailand actually were dependent on our import to drive their own economy.
At the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria proved her capacity to produce the quantity of rice needed by Nigerians.
Let people think, if the president didn't have the foresight to make us to produce what we eat and eat what we produce, and to introduce the banning of pouring rice and empowering the local milling industry and local producer of rice to produce, what would we have been today? One, we would not have even the foreign exchange to import the rice. Two, even if you have the money, those countries, virtually all countries close their border.
For Nigeria, the focus is not merely on cultivation. Serious attention is also being given to the entire value chain.
In Kano, most of our rice milling plants were virtually epileptic or shut down, some of them, including clusters. But with this policy, we have 14 major milling plants in Kano producing 180 tons to 400 tons per day. 14. We have 32 medium-sized milling plants. This I'm only talking to in Kano. That is 100 to 120 capacity milling plants. And then we have clusters in thousands around Kura, Tudunwada, Dogwa, Gezawa, several other places that we can think of.
It's just Kano. There are major milling and processing facilities in several other states, including Benue and Ebonyi, with clusters scattered across the country. While the potential is huge and the successes commendable, there is still a lot left to be desired.
We are a large population. The agricultural sector is still largely unmechanized. We still have issues with seedlings. We still have issues with input. We still have issues with farmers not adopting and practicing good agricultural practices. We still have a very major issue with respect to yield. We still have a yield that is averagely 50% of international standard per hectare for rice. So these are challenges. But this is why the policy is good, because we are now challenging ourselves to say, yes, we didn't think it would work as effectively, as successfully as it has proven to be.
One commendable factor is the resilience of government to keep the borders short to rice importation, despite the pressure and lobby of so-called rice cabals. While previously licensed importers may be waning in their resolve, the issue of smuggling persists, an issue government is working tirelessly with relevant stakeholders to curb. The issues of seeds and inputs are some others government is tackling head-on.
You have to be able to provide to farmers quality, improved, high-yielding seeds and seedlings for them to produce rice. For that, the ministry is very much working with the relevant stakeholders, especially the research institutions, to see that we improve our seeds for rice. We have invested a lot of our money in this 2020 budget to actually procure and distribute improved rice seedlings to farmers.
The Presidential Fertilizer Initiative under the current administration is working to support smallholder farmers with quality fertilizer at affordable rates of not more than 5,300 naira per 50 kilogram bag. For the ordinary Nigerian, affordability is key. The price of rice was a source of worry for many households for many weeks. Devastating floods, the uncertainty of COVID-19, and the unscrupulous nature of some middlemen have been identified as reasons for this. However, the ministry is undeterred, believing that as production increases and more paddy rice is produced, price will eventually drop and Nigeria will be the better for it.
The story of rice in Nigeria is a cheerful one. While many former importers of rice continue to grumble, many others have gone into rice cultivation, processing and milling, bagging, and even marketing. The train has left the terminal and is moving very fast. While we need the government to continue to support the efforts of farmers and millers, the government needs you to take up one aspect of the value chain and turn around your fortunes for good. In our next segment, Partnership for Development, we'll see some crucial stakeholders and players in the sector and how they have become formidable partners in Nigeria's rice revolution. Don't go away.
At the rice farm in Ofadua community of Obubra local government area of Cross River State, harvesting is ongoing. This 2.5 hectare of rice farm is one of many in the local government and northern part of Cross River State where rice is produced commercially. At one portion of the farm, threshing, a process that involves detaching the paddy from the stalks, is being carried out. This is the step it follows before they are taken for processing. Like in so many other places in the area, rice farming is a major source of livelihood.
Rice is one of the major crops produced here in Obubra. And good enough like this year, the income coming out from the production of rice is very, very attractive. Farmers who were not able to cultivate rice twice a year, like 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, this year, some of them cultivated 2-3 times in the same plot. Some produced 2-3 times in different plots. because the price for this year is attractive, and a lot of farmers have access to these improved inputs like the rice we call Faro 44.
Rice cultivation can take between 3 to 4 months before harvesting. After land preparation, the farmer may decide to plant in situ by broadcasting or by raising a nursery and transplanting. A number of things can take place afterwards.
After that, you can apply a fertilizer from the second week and so on, depending on the variety you are planting and the rate of growth. After that is weeding. After weeding is bed scaring. That's why you see that shade. It's not just for living. You scare the bed. After bed scaring is harvesting, what you have just witnessed here. The harvesting involves using a sharp knife to cut. You thresh it, that heating. You see somebody with a stick. That is the threshing, the local threshing. After that, you winnow it. You blow the chaff. You now take it to the mill.
This cluster of rice mills in Obubra has the capacity to process tens and hundreds of tons daily. The process begins with filtering and parboiling. The parboiled rice is then dried before milling.
It depends. At times, we can mill up to 100 bushels, or 150 bushels, or 50 bushels, or 30 bushels, depending how the work. We have the work that very day.
Once the rice is milled, winnowing takes place to discard the chaff from the grains. To further add value, some processors go on to destone the milled rice to remove rock particles. Hundreds of buyers come here daily to buy locally produced Nigerian rice, while subsistent farmers also bring their paddy rice for processing at a fee. At the heart of rice production in Nigeria is the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, partnering with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. There is a concerted effort to ensure Nigeria attains complete self-sufficiency in rice. With more than 12 million farmers presently, government continues to support the association with valuable inputs to boost production. In Cross River State, the transformation is also sweeping through.
Over time, when we started this program, the farmers' productivity have increased tremendously because there's a component we add. That component is training component of the farmers to know in the modern aspect of rice farming, that's technology transfer. And the output, I can tell you over time too, has increased geometrically. The participation has also increased correspondingly. For instance, when we started this program in 2017, we started with 6,000 farmers. In 2018, the participation grew to 13,000 farmers. In 2019, and now the participation, we have over 50,000 farmers participating.
Supplies and inputs like fertilizer, pesticides, and water pump machines for irrigation have recently been received here for onward distribution to rice farmers. State governments have also taken an interest in the rice revolution to empower their people, generate revenue, and create employment. The Abakaliki rice is a great example. In Cross River State, there is also an intentional effort to develop a thriving rice industry, with the establishment of a seeds and seedlings production plant in Calabar, as well as a rice processing factory in Ogoja. There is now a sense of responsibility across board, all through the value chain, from cultivation, processing, and marketing. Rice has become an industry in the country. With government's resilience not to go back on its resolve and support local production of rice, there is a better future for rice in Nigeria.
It is impossible to ignore the facts. If you go to the markets, you will find several varieties of rice produced in different parts of the country. You see it, you feel it, you eat it. That is a fact. And we can go beyond that to even become a big exporter for other African nations, and indeed the rest of the world. In our next segment, Farmers Speak, we'll hear from a farmer playing a crucial role within the rice value chain.
I succeeded the business on my personally, my own is above 200 bags, 300 kg. This long, it's above 300 kg. I also have machine, 5 machine I use in processing. When others bring their own, I will equally process for them, market it.
Cassava, known botanically as Manihot esculenta, is a woody perennial plant in the spurge family. Cassava is the third largest source of food carbohydrates in the tropics, after rice and maize. It is a major staple food in the developing world, providing a basic diet for over 500 million people. Today, cassava is produced all over the world, with global production reaching 277 million tons in 2019. Nigeria is currently the largest producer of cassava, accounting for about 1/5, 21% of total production worldwide. On the other hand, Thailand is the largest exporter of cassava starch. The demand for cassava and its constituents is high in the domestic economy. However, the supply has been unable to meet the huge demand. Nigeria needs about 28.3 million metric tons of fresh cassava roots planted annually on about 1.2 million hectares of land to meet the country's demand for some of the cassava byproducts and derivatives such as ethanol, cassava-based constituents in sugar syrup, high-quality cassava flour, gari, cassava starch, caustic soda, and so on. A total of 59.5 million metric tons of cassava is produced in the country annually, but there is an economic potential to generate revenues of $427.3 million from domestic value addition and derived income of $2.98 billion in agricultural exports of cassava. Furthermore, the local value addition to cassava via local manufacturing and processing could potentially unlock about $16 million in taxes to the government. The largest cassava producing states in Nigeria are Benue, Kogi, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Delta, Ogun, Oyo, Enugu, and Imo states.
Rice is an important staple food in Nigeria. The least we can do is grow enough for us to eat, rather than spend huge foreign exchange on importation of rice that is neither tasty nor half as nutritious as our local varieties. So why don't you support government in this quest? Take up a spot in the value chain and become part of history. There's no going back on the ban on rice importation. It is the right step, but it requires the cooperation of everyone to work. I'll be here same time next week for another edition.